So, you know, I was listening to a BBC one day driving around, and it was on the anniversary of the boat lift of Danish Jews to Sweden in 1943, and a lot of people have heard this story about how, and usually the story goes something like you know, the heroic Danish resistance organized the getting the Jews out of Denmark to Sweden, where they were welcomed with open arms by the progressive Swedish government, and you know, like that's the big, and you know, and of course the brave heroic fishermen and regular Danish society all banded together and helped the Jews get to Sweden selflessly, and there's a lot of truth to a lot of that, but the reality is a bit murkier, and because for one thing, reading up on it, I discovered that you know, growing up, I learned about Niels Bohr, you know, along with Einstein and Marie Curie and other people, these really prominent scientists, right? Niels Bohr he's one of the most famous Danes ever, you know, along with Christian Andersen and stuff. And Niels Bohr was a physicist, and he was Danish, and he was Jewish, you know, and of Jewish lineage. And he, when the Jews were all getting, well, when this Nazi party member who was a sympathizer with the Danes basically tipped off the Danish government that they were going to be arresting all the Jews, Niels Bohr went to Sweden, and as soon as he got to Sweden, the Swedish government said, "We have a plane waiting for you from the United States. They want to take you there immediately to work on the Manhattan Project." And he said, "I'm not going until the Swedish government announces on the radio that all Jews are welcome in Sweden," which they hadn't gotten around to doing until then. And coincidentally or not, the next day the Swedish government announced on the radio that Jews were welcome in Sweden if they could get to Sweden. And so then the boat lift began. And on BBC they were interviewing a guy, an old man who was a young man, maybe a child, when the boat lift happened, and he mentioned something I hadn't heard before. It was that in current dollars, the fisherman who took him and his family to Sweden charged $50,000 for a 1-hour boat ride. And so, you know, in modern terms, if we were in, you know, modern America or modern Australia or one of these places where they don't like refugees, they like to call them victims of human trafficking. And so the Danish Jews were victims of human trafficking, and the fishermen were human traffickers in modern language. Where'd that go? My mother's parents came here on a boat. They came from a land of kings and queens, but on the wrong side of the moat. My father's parents came here on one too. They didn't want to leave Austria, but it was a thing for Jews to do. I don't know your story, but I'll bet it's more or less the same. What kind of war or famine was on when your family came before? Their ship arrived. Did your folks come here to discover and explore, or were they refugees Running from the war, did they cross the freezing mountains to make it to the sea? All the while wishing that they never had to flee, where they marched across the jungles with chains around their feet, nearly dying of exhaustion in the desert heat, before their ship arrived. Did they make a life here, or were they kidnapped and detained, held for years in limbo as their optimism waned? Were they turned down for asylum and told they shouldn't lie, then sent off to be tortured, sent back home to die? Did they get to move here, create their lives anew, or are they held on Christmas Island, asking what on earth they can do before their ship arrived? Before their ship